God. So the first would be convenient revelations. Here I would mean usually morally convenient revelations, that Muhammad is the one who's receiving the revelations, and yet these revelations constantly just give him what he wants or serve some purpose for him that don't really do anything else other than help Muhammad. And we have to be suspicious. If Muhammad is the one receiving the revelations and he's constantly getting revelations that have no purpose other than satisfying him and satisfying his desires, Chapter 33, verse 37 of the Quran. Muhammad had a son, an adopted son, named Zaid, who's called Zaid bin Muhammad, Zaid, son of Muhammad, even though he's adopted. Zaid had a wife named Zainab, who was extremely beautiful. And what's interesting is that Muhammad went over to Zaid's house to visit him one day and was greeted by Zainab, who was almost naked. And Muhammad started having some thoughts about her, and Allah revealed that she was going to be his wife. Now think about this. This woman is married to Muhammad's adopted son. And Muhammad, after seeing her almost naked, gets a revelation that he is going to marry her. This is the wife of his own adopted son.
Who was Zaid? Who was Zainab? How did Zainab come to marry Zaid? And what happened in their marriage? And why the Prophet finally was commanded to marry her? First, who was Zaid? Zaid was not the son of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And you heard Sheikh Faisal reading the first ayah, مَا كَانَ مُحَمَّدٌ أَبَا أَحَدٍ مِّن رِجَالِكُمْ. He was not his biological son. But in Arabia, before it was outlawed in the Quran, the adoption was used, and that Zaid actually was a slave that the Prophet freed and said, he is my son, meaning adopted son. But he was not his biological son. Question, who was Zainab? And did the Prophet really discover her beauty all of a sudden and wanted to marry her? Many people do not realize that Zainab is the cousin of the Prophet. And they grew together as children. And he have seen her before even hijab was prescribed later in Medina. How come all of a sudden, after all these years being raised together, discovered that Zainab is beautiful? Thirdly, how did Zainab get to marry Zaid? It was actually by some pressure applied to her by the Prophet, because he wanted to cancel this aristocracy. Zainab was coming from the elite tribe of Quraysh. Zaid was a former slave. But the Prophet wanted to make a good point that you look for the character of the person. So she accepted to marry Zaid. But then, what happened in their marriage? Problems. Zaid comes to complain to the Prophet that his wife is treating him, in a way that's too haughty, that they're not getting along. So the Prophet, like any good marriage counselor, would say, be patient. But then something very crucial, and that is actually found in Surah 33. People use their imagination without reading the Quran, which is the most authentic source of seerah. Revelation come to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, through Gabriel, to tell him, look, ultimately, Zaid is going to divorce Zainab. This marriage is not going to last. Secondly, confidential information, revelation given to him, that after Zaid divorces Zainab, God will command you to marry her after she observed the waiting period, required waiting period, to marry her in order to break the taboo in Arabia that the adopted child is exactly the same like a biological son. And the Prophet keeps this information. He's not authorized to reveal it yet. So Zaid comes back to the Prophet again and complain, our marital life is on the rocks, But then the Prophet, knowing even that he will end up divorcing his wife, again, as any good counselor would say, as the Quran says, أَمْسِكْ عَلَيْكَ زَوْجَكَ وَاتَّقِ اللَّهَ. Keep your wife and fear Allah. And he hides, as the Quran says, you hide in yourself what Allah is going to reveal. What was the Prophet hiding? The Prophet was hiding the information that ultimately he will be commanded to marry her. And that's why the Quran says, don't fear people, it's okay. Don't fear people. If Allah command you, he is not your biological son. I know it was very difficult on the Prophet. That's why the Quran says, you fear people, you should fear Allah alone. Because nobody could break that taboo. You know, when you say this is my adopted son, it has 3 implications. 1, he takes your name, so there is a false identity. 2, he inherits on equal footing with your biological children. 3, he becomes exactly your biological son, which means if he's married, his wife becomes your daughter-in-law, and if he divorces her, it would be incest to get married to her. But the Quran came to say this is false. Zaid is a stranger. He is not of even the tribe of the Prophet. He is not his son. And as such, that taboo has to be broken. That was the story. It is found very clearly and explicitly stated in the Quran.